Hey guys, and welcome back to New Earth Alchemy, where we are learning how to control our energy to use that to manifest what we want. Today's episode specifically is going to be about protecting your energy because we only have so much to work with every single day, right? And that fluctuates as well. So, see, I talk about consistency a lot because people are obsessed with consistency, but we've got the wrong idea of what real, true consistency actually is. Nothing in this world is consistently the same all of the time. The only true, natural consistency in life is change, which makes it hilarious that people don't like change. It's like the one thing that short circuits. It's not the one thing. There's tons of things that short circuit us, but it is the underlying cause of most of the things that short circuit us. We do not like change. The irony of being dropped into a life, into a world where change is the only constant. Anyway, so back to the energy level things. Some days you're going to have a lot of energy to work with. Other days you're going to have a lot less energy to work with. And the factors of that, there's a ton of things that can influence your energy levels on a day-to-day basis. And we're going to talk about a lot of those factors and how you can do your best to tip the scales towards the more energy rather than the less energy, because a lot of us are struggling with less energy, right? We wish we had more energy than what we do. So we're going to cover a lot of things that you can do to help that. But first and foremost, I want you to remember step one, be patient with yourself, okay? Some days, those days when you wake up with very little energy, allow it, honor it. It's a rest and relaxation day. It's a self-care day. It's a create space day and rest. Some days you're going to be full force, and those are wonderful days. We love those days. They're so much fun. But we need the yin in order to have the yang, right? That's two sides of the same coin. Without the one, we cannot have the other. So we're not going to be mad when we wake up and we have very poor energy levels. We're going to honor that and accept that and be patient with ourselves. For two, it's important to remember that we evolved for our bodies to conserve energy. Food used to be a whole lot harder to come by. We had to grow it ourselves. We had to harvest it. We had to hunt it. We had to travel miles and miles to the nearest town to buy it. It's super important to sit around sometimes and think about how your ancestors lived, like your specific ancestors, because not everybody's ancestors live the same way, right? It's a fluctuation between cultures, between places on the planet. But sitting and thinking about how your ancestors specifically evolved can help you gain some insight about yourself and your own body. It's a very powerful introspective tool. But for most of us, there were lots of periods of famine and food was more on the scarce side. So our bodies naturally want to conserve all of the energy it can and store up, it uses what it needs and then it stores the rest for periods of time when food is scarce, which is why exercise is so hard to do. And sometimes getting out of bed is so hard to do. We also historically slept a lot more than what we do now. So again, we're being patient with ourselves. Now, we know that we are energetic beings and that we want to become more energy than matter, right? Because it's easier to manipulate energy than it is to manipulate matter. And our energy fields extend outside of our bodies up to 15 feet or more. And we can influence this by making it bigger or making it smaller, just depending on what we're trying to work with. That is if we're doing it consciously. We do it subconsciously all the time. We just don't realize that we're doing it. For example, if you're in a crowded room with a bunch of strangers and you don't feel comfortable, then you're going to make your energy smaller. You're going to constrict it around your body in an effort to protect yourself and maybe not be noticed. Whereas if you are in a comfortable situation where you're having a good time and you're enjoying other people around you, your energy, your levels may be bigger. We've all been around people who just seem to command the room and the audience, right? Okay, so focusing on our energy and learning how to control that consciously is what we want to do. It is the most important thing for manifesting the life that you want, for manifesting the things that you want, the relationships, literally everything. There is nothing more important than focusing completely on your energy. And I don't just mean energy levels as in how much energy you have to work with, like movement and like, oh, I feel energetic today, or oh, I feel tired. Yes, but also what's more important is the vibrational frequency of this energy that you're working with. We want to stay on the higher level of this energy frequency as often as possible. But we're going to be also very careful of spiritual bypassing and toxic positivity, okay? Because those are counterproductive. That's not what we mean here. Being on the upper side of these vibrational frequencies as often as we can does not mean shunning and completely cutting off our connection to the lower energies, because again, it's the yin and the yang, right? You can't have one without the other. It's always a balancing act. And completely cutting off our ties to those lower, not so fun emotions can cause more problems than they help. Because then you have unprocessed emotions, then you have unprocessed beliefs and thoughts, and it's creating toxicity in the body, which is then draining the energy from you. Because if those emotions are stuck in there, those unprocessed traumas and whatnot, if those are stuck in your body, they are hindering energy flow and movement, as well as taking up, they're stealing energy to stay manifested, to hold on to their existence. And that's siphoning energy that you could, like potential energy that you could be using to manifest things, to do the things you want to do and be the things you want to be and have the things you want to have. Which again is why we honor these things when they pop up. We don't push them away. We don't get mad at them. We don't become irritated, because we're human. When these lower vibrational frequencies enter our lives, because they're always going to, all right? Even the greatest of monks still have emotional things at times. Very, very, very few transcend that. And we really don't want to, because although it, getting into the depths of philosophy and whatnot, it is a freedom of unattachment, complete liberation, but that also kind of takes away from our ties to all of the great things in the world. The beauty, the love, the connection that we can have. Because we can't have those things without the lower things as well. That is a vast oversimplification of how all of that works. But going into more depth would be a completely different podcast episode. On this one, we're trying to focus on energy levels and protecting our energy levels. All right, protecting them. No, we're not casting spells. If you want to do ritual spell stuff, then by all means, go for it. It's a little fun activity. But you actually have to do the work behind it to get those things to work. You are the magic, not the ritual and the thing. Which means to work all of this, all you have to do is be present and aware in every moment as things arise to be dealt with, experienced, transmuted, and healed. Everything always comes back to hyper-awareness and conscious action. If you can do all the spells you want in the world, but if you're still leaving them and going and repeating the same patterns and habits that has created the reality life that you live in right now, then nothing's going to change. Nothing changes unless you do. So anyway, we want to be aware of what is adding to our energy and what is taking from our energy. And again, some of those lower vibrational emotions do take a lot of our energy. But if you just give them the energy they need right now to process, to move through it, because you have to go through it, you can't go around it. We have to face our demons in order to fight them. We can't hide from them. We can't run from them. We have to actually fight them. And then we can get to the other side where they are no longer an issue. Or else they're just going to keep following us. So do give those negative, See, we don't like to use the word negative. We like the word unprogressive, unhelpful, lower vibrational emotions. Give those the time, the energy, the space they need to exist until they are done with the lesson or whatever that they are trying to do. And then we can be rid of them and move on. And then we can turn our focus to the external world, the outside world around us, who we interact with, what we interact with, the tasks that we do on a daily basis, on a weekly basis, on a monthly basis. All of the physical things that create our physical reality. And all you have to do is sit back and pay attention to them as they're coming to pass. You can probably already think of a few right off the top of your head. What drains your energy and what gives you energy? What things and people move you towards the lower vibrational emotions, and what things and people move you towards the higher vibrational emotions? I like to teach people about minimalism and focusing on cleaning your spaces first, because that's the easiest place to start. It's really easy to clean your area, your space that you exist in for the most part, and like your car, your bedroom, your office, all of these places that you're spending a lot of time, because the energy of those places is going to seep into you. They're affecting your energy levels whether you realize it or not. I mean, think about when you clean your vehicle out and you really spend time detailing the inside and you wash the outside and everything's all shiny and smells nice. You get into that vehicle for the first time to drive it after that and you're like, wow, oh my gosh, and everything just feels uplifted and fresh and you're suddenly in a good mood. We want to try and make that happen as often as possible in the places that we spend the most time. And that means Marie Kondoing everything. What brings you joy? What brings you not joy? And what is tattered and old and collecting dust and no longer being used? If the thing that has been sitting on the table for 6 months collecting dust and becoming stagnant, that stagnant energy is affecting your energy levels as well. And we become attached to these things. And you're like, I mean, I know I haven't used it or done anything with it, but I still want to keep it. Maybe I will one day use it or do something with it. In which case, I try to find workarounds. Like, is there a friend that we can give it to that might make more use of it? Is there a local donation center or something that we can give it to? And imagine if that object is alive and it's just sitting there. It's going to have a lot better life if it's being used and utilized and messed with. That's how I teach my children how to cycle out some of their toys. We don't play with it and it's going to be sad. So let's give it to another kid who will play with it so it can be happy. Imagine if the object were alive and you're holding it prisoner just for the sake of having it and owning it. Complete disregard for its happiness and freedom. But moving on, I have other episodes on minimalism if you want to get onto that. I will link them below if you are interested in exploring that further. I always tell people to start with the stuff because the stuff is the easiest thing to start with. Because from there you have to move on to like habits and people and relationships and obligations and responsibilities. And those are a little bit harder to work with. They're a little bit harder to create boundaries around and learn how to let go and say no thank you and not this time. Oftentimes moving on to these things that are draining our energy rather than giving us energy takes a lot of inner work to heal and release like people-pleasing tendencies, cultural expectations, lots of things that are really deeply ingrained in us as children that have a really tight hold. People are very often our most difficult hurdle to overcome with manifesting what we want in life. There's nothing more important to us than our relationships and our connections to the other people around us. which means there's nothing that has played a greater part in shaping us into who we are. And unfortunately, when we start creating boundaries with not only other people, but with ourselves, it's going to cause a lot of fractures in the relationships that you have. And that's very hard. So this is a process for sure. The people in your life are probably going to be pretty hurtful. Generally speaking, most of them are. This is not universal at all. Just because you create boundaries does not mean that you're going to lose everybody and everything. So I don't want to scare you with that, and I don't want you to have that as a fear. I want you to think about it and see if it is a fear that is holding you back from creating boundaries. Because I know so many individuals that are just lovely, but they're people pleasers to a fault. They people please and say yes so much that they literally make themselves sick. And that's exactly what we want to avoid, okay? We want more energy, more positive energy. We want more health and vibrance and happiness so that we can turn around and give to those we love in a healthy way, in a way that is beneficial to everyone. Because if you're vibrant and happy and bright, that's going to rub off on all of the people that you interact with. Just like if you're sick and tired and ornery, that is also going to rub off on all of the people you interact with. Hurt people, and healed people heal people. And that's how we're trying to create the new earth, right? We're trying to create a new world that's better and more positive and happy. And these are the steps that we take to get that. If it were easy, we would already be there. There would be no more work to do. But we could do also a whole nother episode on boundaries and people pleasing and relationships, and I probably have some. But ultimately, just be super aware of what's giving you energy and what's taking away from your energy, and learn how to create boundaries around those, please. For your sake and everyone else's. It's not selfish. You're doing it for them so that you can bring your best you, so that you can lead by example and help them heal if they're ready to do so. And then last, we want to talk about habits. Our diet, our exercise, our lifestyle choices. Diet and exercise have left a huge, very yucky taste in our mouth. None of us like it because we've gone really the wrong way about trying to do it. Most of us diet and exercise out of self-loathing and disliking what we see when we look in the mirror, right? Or step on the scale. And that is the wrong way to go about it. Because if that's the energy that kicks off these habits, then that's the energy that's going to saturate these habits, which means they're going to turn into things that drain your energy. You're not going to want to do them. Whereas if we flip that around and we're looking at diet and exercise as a way of taking care of our body so that we have more energy, so that we're happier and healthier and spend less time sick, so that we can do the things that we want to do and learn the things that we want to learn, so that we can progress and manifest and get to the reality that we want to live in. That's a much higher vibrational frequency, isn't it? That feels much better. So instead of being like, oh man, I have to food prep so that I can make good choices, it turns it into, okay, this week is going to be really busy. So to keep on my goals, I need to prep some of these foods so that I have easy choices later. Something I did for a while when I first started food prepping was made it a friend thing. We did little friend parties, little food prep parties. So it'd be me and like 2 or 3 of my friends. Sometimes they would bring friends, and we would decide through a group text message what we were going to prep that week. And then we would divide the recipes up, and we're like, okay, well, I have this at my house, so I can bring that. And then this person would be like, well, I'll go to the grocery store and grab this, so that we have that. And then we just hang out for a few hours and talk, and our kids would play together, and we would just cook a big batch of this stuff, and then we'd portion them out into our containers that we brought from home. And it made food prep a whole lot easier, and it turned it into a fun thing. So that's the great thing about food, is that you can make it a group project. I don't get together with friends anymore to do this, but my son is very, very, very interested in food and cooking and making meals. So me and him, I teach him how to do things, and that helps me get in there and do that. Because it's important for me to teach my children how to care for their bodies properly, because it's not something that I was taught, and I'm not like, there's no blame there. It's just the standard American diet is what most people are used to. And a lot of us, when we're trying to eat healthier for our bodies, struggle really hard with that learning curve. We think we know what eating healthy means, but we don't actually know what eating healthy means until we get in there and start practicing it. And then we realize, like, oh gosh, it's a whole world out here of what I don't even know where to start. So I always wanted to give my kids the upper hand of not having to figure that out on their own when they become adults. And essentially that's what this is you're not only parenting if you have children, that is. If you don't have children, it doesn't matter. The point of the matter is that you have to parent yourself. You have to be your own parent, mentally and emotionally and physically, just like you would take care of your child and give them the healthiest, best food that you can for their health and well-being. You need to treat your own self like that, because on the inside you are a kid. You're the same kid that you were when you were a kid, and you still deserve all of the best things as an adult that you deserved when you were a kid. Children deserve the best, do they not? You're still a kid that deserves the best. You're just in a grown-up body. You still need the care, the safety, the protection, the love, the connection, the time to play, the space to rest. And just like you want to feed that inner child with apples and bananas and carrots rather than just candy for every meal, you also need to think about the media that you're exposed to. A child needs enrichment to learn. And again, you are no different. And all of these things are going to add to your energy. Endless doom scrolling. It's called doom scrolling. Gee, I wonder what vibrational frequency that's at. Whereas you could download an app to learn a new language, to read books, listening to informational podcasts. Hello, thank you for being here. Please rate and review and share to help others. Oh, not to mention adrenal fatigue. Are you familiar with adrenal fatigue? That's why most of us are so tired all of the time, because we're stressed out and anxious all of the time from overstimulation, being overworked, and not having the proper rest and nutrition to keep that up. And we counteract that by creating boundaries, creating space, learning how to slow everything down so that our nervous system can recalibrate. It's not meant to be on all the time. And then by giving our body the proper vitamins and nutrition that it needs to create all the building blocks to replicate all the cells and fight off all of the diseases and do all of the things and function and breathe and circulate and yada yada. Essentially detoxing your life. All of the things, and being honest with yourself about what is toxic in your life, because sometimes we lie to ourselves. Sometimes we're like, oh, it's not an issue. That's not a problem, but it is. Oh, and then the point on exercise. You don't hate exercise. You just haven't found any active activity that you enjoy doing just yet. Please keep trying more. I personally love yoga and pickleball. I play a lot of pickleball. And not only will this help keep your body strong and fit, but it'll also help detoxify everything that's stuck in there. And exercise gets energy moving. It's, because we are energetic beings. And when we're moving, dancing's a great one too. But when we get that movement going, we're breaking up all of those energetic blocks and the tension and the stuff that we're holding on to, the emotions, the traumas. We're breaking all of that up and releasing it out, cycling it out of our bodies. So don't give up, okay? Don't just write it off. Don't just be like, I don't like exercise, the end. That's it. I don't exercise. Keep trying things. See if like hiking is your thing. Kayaking, we do a lot of hiking and kayaking. Getting out in nature, oh my gosh, it's so important to get out in nature. It'll rewire your entire system with minimal effort. But don't give up. Don't give up on anything. Just keep trying. Just try something different. If the first 18 things didn't work for you, don't write it off. And there is a whole world of possibilities and stones to overturn and look under and figure out and try. And until you've touched every single one of them and gave them an honest try, which would take your entire life to do, you just haven't found yours yet. So don't stop looking. You can figure it out. You just have to want to. But with all of that, let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything you'd like to discuss based on protecting your energy and whatnot. Let me know if you need any help. Again, thank you so much for being here. I couldn't make any of this possible without you. I love you so much. I'll see you next week. Namaste.